Hello, Africa. Thanks for joining us once more for this edition of the program, 90 Minutes in Africa, coming to you from my media prime, the African Eye. In today's edition of the program, we are going to be taking a look at the roundup of African news from across the continent, and we're going to be analyzing it with our guest in the studio. Our central theme today is on Christianity. We'll be taking a look at whether Christianity is a blessing or a curse for Africa. Let's begin today's edition of the program by bringing you latest news items. We begin in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, where African Union leaders are holding a two-day summit starting today as the continent grapples with COVID-19, border disputes, and displacement due to fighting in Africa. In Libya, engineer and successful businessman Abdelhamid, who is 61 years old, has been appointed as acting Prime Minister of Libya. He is expected to lead his country towards elections at the end of the year. We already know the fixtures of the final of the ongoing African Nations Championship. Mali is going to play against Morocco, while for the bronze medal, Cameroon will play Guinea. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for joining us for this edition of the program 90 Minutes in Africa. We have our guests in the studio, Reverend Father Edwin Mumukon. Reverend Father Edwin Mumukon, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's my pleasure to have you with me in the studio today.
Thank you. I'm also pleased to be here.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
And on this other side, we have Boh Ivo. Boh Ivo, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Elvis, and good afternoon, televiewers of 90 Minutes in Africa. Today we stand again, welcome you to be able to watch and see the deliberations which we are going to give concerning our continent, our beloved continent.
Ivo Boh is a social analyst joining us all the way from Boya. And also next to Reverend Father Edwin Mumukon is Oru Allens Agbor, an international relations analyst. How are you, sir? Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Elvis, and you all are welcome to my media prime on 90 Minutes in Africa, where we'll discuss Pan-African issues. We hope at the end of this program we are going to meet your expectations.
And joining us from China, we have a guest from China, Nuh Franklin. He is a critic. He will be talking about the Christianity. Nuh Franklin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Boh Elvis. Thank you, and it's a pleasure once more to meet you. It's a long time, and I hope you guys are enjoying your show as usual. I'm Nuh Franklin. I'm all the way from China, and I'm going to be intervening today in a very pertinent topic, Christianity, a blessing or a curse to the African continent.
Okay, thank you so much, Nuh Franklin, and thanks for joining us. We will be joined from Bamenda by Apostle Tohndon Augustine. Apostle Tohndon, thanks for joining us all the way from Bamenda. Apostle Tohndon will be joining us any moment from now. Let's begin today's program by taking a look at the roundup of the latest news items during the week, which we monitored on websites. Let's have our Africa video, Africa web zap. We'll be right back. That was the Africa Web Zap. In the course of the week, our production team monitored other channels: Africa News, DW Africa, South African Broadcasting Corporation, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, to know what they've been reporting about. It's now time for you to watch the Africa Videos app. We'll be right back.
The former Nigerian Finance Minister Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is now poised to become the leader of the World Trade Organization following the withdrawal of South Korean Trade Minister Yong Myung-hae. The withdrawal came after dozens of former U.S. government officials urged President Joe Biden to endorse Okonjo-Iweala after Trump administration blocked her selection in 2020, making the U.S. and Korea the only holders favoring Yong. The 66-year-old Nigerian economist, who is also a U.S. citizen, emerged as the frontrunner for the WTO Director General post last year. If the U.S., Korea, and the WTO's other 162 members join a consensus to appoint Okonjo-Iweala, the WTO can announce a meeting to confirm her appointment within a matter of days. If confirmed, she will become the first woman and the first African to lead the organization in its 25-year history.
The first message you want to send is that Black First Land First is back.
Black First Land First back in the fold. After being deregistered in 2019 for failing to meet a section of the Electoral Commission Act, which states that the IEC may not register a political party that excludes membership on the basis of race, color, and ethnicity. Despite the amendment to its constitution, the BLF is sticking to its guns, saying it will not allow white members.
Black First, Land First, what more? Don't they have the Freedom Front Plus? What do white people go ask any white person want to join us? What do you want to join us? To achieve what? We have met the criteria. The criteria does not say we must have white people. Are there white people in Freedom Front Plus? And not black people? No. Are there black people in Freedom Front Plus in Parliament? No. And we must have white people amongst us. Why? Are there black people in Orania?
Ngwa, a former EFF member, also weighed in on the meeting between former President Jacob Zuma and Julius Malema.
All we can say to President Zuma is watch the tea. Don't move your eyes away from that tea. Keep, because you have a man that has stepped you not once, too many times at the back. You are sitting there with a seasoned sellout, seasoned betrayer, who is prepared to go to Nkandla, the place you are saying is place of corruption, to go and sniff around and see how prepared you are for this battle. So we are simply saying to President Zuma, watch your back.
The application moved by counsel for the petitioner wanted the Supreme Court to grant its leave of an order to be allowed to access the originals of the constituency presidential election results collation forms from 9 for all constituencies in Ghana. It is also asking for original copies of the constituency presidential election results sheets from 10 for all constituencies, the originals of the regional presidential election results collation forms from 11 for all regions. Also, the originals of the regional presidential election results summary sheets from 12 for all regions in Ghana, the original of the declaration of the presidential results from 13, and the records of the alleged updates to the purported declaration of presidential election results on December 9, 2020, of the results of 4 constituencies in the Greater Accra region. Mr. Chikata, moving the application, said the application was necessitated by the fact that a request for inspection of documents was filed on January 19, 2021. Mr. Chikata averred that figures in respect of the alleged update, including figures of total valid votes cast, are different from the declaration which was made on December 9, 2020. He added that total valid votes cast is 13,119,400, while the Electoral Commission stated 13,434,574 as total valid votes cast.
c'est le football. Hein. Faut pas vous laisser abattre sur le football, c'est ça la réalité. Faut pas vous laisser dominer par la tristesse, tout ça, vous avez été battu plus fort que vous. C'est comme ça, mais vous avez encore un match à jouer. Après, c'est pas terminé la finale, c'est la finale des perdants, c'est ça, mais c'est une finale quand même. Qui pouvait imaginer qu'on allait arriver là? Donc faites-vous plaisir, vous aurez le dernier match, ne vous laissez pas abattre. D'accord? Ok, gardez le moral, faites votre dernier match dans l'histoire, on retiendra que vous avez été jusqu'à ce bout-là. Ok? Vous avez été valeureux, vous avez fait ce que vous pouvez. C'est quand même une équipe beaucoup plus forte qui nous a battus. On n'a pas à avoir honte de cela. Ok? Vous avez déjà donné beaucoup de joie au Camerounais, mais là, c'est la limite. Et vous pouvez encore en donner peut-être samedi avec ce petit match qui va vous opposer à la Guinée. D'accord? Le podium, c'est 3 places. Hein. Premier, deuxième, troisième. Vous pouvez monter au podium et être troisième. Donc il y a encore un match pour la fin. Essayez de vous redavaliser. Dormez bien, essayez de retrouver un peu de moral. Vous n'avez pas à avoir honte. Le score ne reflète même pas la réalité du match, mais c'est un peu sévère, mais c'est la victoire. Ok? Courage.
Welcome back. You're watching My Media Prime, The African Eye. Those are the top stories of the week as seen by our production team here of the production team of 90 Minutes in Africa. Ivo Boh, you watched the Africa web zap, you watched the Africa video zap. What is the story that caught your attention this week?
Again, Elvis, what has caught my attention again is the COVID-19. You know, we get that a second wave of the COVID-19 is still coming up. And it is a dangerous threat to Africa. When you look again, that being a dangerous threat to Africa, I look at the domains. How are Africans prepared? Then Africans again are very lukewarm concerning the vaccine. The vaccine which will also act as a prevention. Then on the other hand, you see that the Africans, you go to the transport sector, look at the market and so on, you see that the Africans actually have a very carefree attitude towards the prevention of the pandemic. I don't know, maybe we'll have to call Jesus Christ to come maybe and see what to do about the issue. But it's very dangerous, it's a threat to the African continent, as the WHO president echoed last time. But the Africans seem not to be doing something about it. Not to be doing something about it. That's what actually really caught my attention.
Oru Allens Agbor, what caught your attention as you watched the Africa Video Zap and Web Zap?
I think a lot of issues caught my attention. First of all, I'll start to talk about the issue in South Africa. Since the death of the apartheid regime, I think South Africa is still experiencing a lot when it concerns racial inequality. You see the whites in South Africa and also the blacks in South Africa. But even though Nelson Mandela fought for that, but that has not still been achieved. You see the t-shirts they were putting on, there is an information that those t-shirts transmit land or death, telling us that what, even though the apartheid regime, maybe Nelson Mandela did something to end that, but it's still existing in South Africa. Not just existing, but existing more than even the way it was existing before. I also noticed the issue in Uganda. I think Museveni is trying to use a very wonderful tactics to please the electorate, or those who really see him as someone who is incompetent in Uganda. Because since after the elections and also the electoral outcome, where you see violence escalating in Uganda, but you notice that the policies that has been put in place in Uganda, they are trying to look like Africa in nature. I will take the issue of the COVID-19, where one of the vaccines was discovered by a research center in the one university in Uganda. What happened? He tried to ensure that that is what will be recognized or will be used in Uganda. And today you also see him trying to like have some sort of conflicts with the European organization. due to what he's trying to be like an African man in nature, because a lot of Ugandans are disappointed with him, and because of his long stay in power they are not really satisfied, but he's trying to use another medium to satisfy their aspiration.
Thank you so much, Oru Allens. Reverend Father Edwin Mumukon, you watched the stories of the week, Africa Videos App and the Webs App. Which story caught your attention?
The story of Okonjo Iweala, who is rising high to the top at the level of the World Trade Organization. It really caught my attention because I see Africans are gradually making way to the top in the world, in all the organizations in the world. But I have a fear. My fear is, as Africans, are we able to maintain the status quo? Are we able, so that Africa has been criticized on a lot of plans, we should be able to leave a mark. What mark do I mean? A positive mark, so that it can create a chance for more Africans to be trusted in other things. So I think that's what really caught my attention. And then the second thing that caught my attention was the fake food issue. Sometimes in life we all need to be encouraged, and I think that saying of the lions being encouraged after their defeat is something really, really, really positive. And we need this positive attitude in our world today. We need to comfort one another, especially in times of need, like this case of the coronavirus. It has touched other countries more than others. Cameroon, maybe we are better because somewhere clear that has something that we have, but others are really suffering. Like I just saw the rise in the number of cases in South Africa, and even the death. So we also need to comfort them. So from that I took a moral lesson, how to comfort somebody in pain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend Father Mumukon. Let us now join our guest in China, Nuh Franklin, a critic. Nuh Franklin, I'm sure you watched the Africa Videos App and Africa Webs App. Which story caught your attention?
Yes, of course I did. And what caught my attention is the case of the coronavirus, the rise on the cases in Africa. And it's a worrisome situation because we do not dispose of a very good medical system. Talk less of independent medical commission made up of researchers that can actually carry out a very solid research and propose good solutions when it comes to cases like this. And we know that the world is fighting this disease at different levels. I begin to wonder what is happening to the rest of Africa, since we have had that attitude of always depending on the West. Now that the West is down, what is happening? So I think, to say the least, wake up and take some measures to fight this disease at our. If you want to sit and depend on politicians as we've done, it is going to be catastrophic, because according to the new variant, it's spread rapidly. How our markets are full of people, and
No problem. We'll be getting back
to take measures.
No problem. We'll be getting back to you as we have some little issues with your sound, but our technicians are going to handle that. If Apostle Tohndon is on the line, we want to get his reaction briefly before we launch the debate topic of the week. Apostle Tohndon, are you with us?
I'm with you, sir. God bless you.
Okay, Pastor Apostle Tohndon, Augustine, you watched the roundup of news during the week, Africa Videos App and Africa Webs App. We are getting reactions on the story that caught your attention before we launch our debate topic for the week.
Yes, actually the story that really caught my attention was the issue with the coronavirus. I think we are having a recent spike in the number of cases in Africa right now, and I'm beginning to feel like our administrative authorities, our leaders in Africa had really taken this issue of coronavirus lying down, and also the African population. The African population had really, there were a lot of conspiracy theories concerning this coronavirus, And it really made people not to really take it serious. You know, there was an announcement that there could be a second wave of the virus coming up. And I expected that our African leaders should have been funding research during the first phase of the coronavirus. You know, we heard about Moderna, Pfizer, and all those companies in the United States of America and other companies doing research on how to bring out the vaccine. But actually in Africa, I discovered that our governments were just folding their arms and waiting on the Western world to propose a solution. And once the solution is proposed, the whole Africa is going to just embrace. I really wonder what the African Union was doing, because right now, the level at which the cases are spiking. I just spoke with a nurse today who was talking to me from one of the health centers here in the Northwest region, and she was telling me that a particular ward, all the nurses who were working on that ward were tested positive yesterday, and the cases are rising in their district medical center. So it's a case of concern, but I think that our administrative authorities relaxed. You see, there were no more giving updates. You see, it's just now that you see the minister is like rising up again, the prime minister coming up and this, but this was not something that we needed to relax. This was something that the barrier measures needed to keep being insisted on, all those things. We needed to fund research. We needed to ensure that we're looking for our own solution as the African countries. But we depended on the West, and now this is what is coming. So like Mr. Nuh said it, and he said it clear, the African governments have relaxed and they were depending on the West for whatsoever solution they will bring, so that we just take. And now the cases are rising and the measures have been relaxed. So I really think it's a cause for concern, and that particular story caught my attention. And we're just using this media to say, let the population be vigilant, stay safe. It's very important for yourself.
Thank you so much, Apostle Tohndon. Augustine, if you're just joining us, you're watching the program 90 Minutes in Africa on the African Eye. It's coming to you from my media prime. Time for us to usher our debate topic of the week. As you know, in the program 90 Minutes in Africa, every week we come up with an issue that affects the African continent. In the past 3 editions, we've spoken about politics, we've spoken about cultural issues, and today we want to talk religion because that is a way of creating awareness about what affects us as Africans. And so this week we are going to be taking a look at Christianity, and we will be looking at Christianity, whether it is a blessing or a curse for Africa. That is our debate topic, which we are all sharing in right now. But before we do that, we have with us Reverend Father Edwin, the Mari Mumukon. And I would like you, before we start, that you define Christianity. When we talk of Christianity, what do we mean?
Christianity, as it comes, you have in Christ. So Christianity, in a nutshell, simply means a group of those who are following Christ, the way that Christ marked out for us. So it is a society of believers of Christ, those who follow Christ. The way Christ did these things, we want to conform ourselves to his way. And
Apostle Tohndon, Augustine, I get to you now. What is Christianity? When we talk Christianity, what do we mean?
Mr. Elvis, Christianity, just like the Reverend Father said, the word Christian actually came from the word Christ, which means Christ-like. So when you call someone a Christian, it actually means the person is Christ-like. In the book of Acts chapter 17, that's the place that particular thing was first mentioned. That particular word was first mentioned in the Bible. And it is said that when people saw that the followers of Jesus were living like Christ, they called them Christians. And so Christianity is actually a gathering, or is actually a group of people who have the life of Christ, who live a life that is similar to that of Jesus. So it's an assembly of believers that have a life that resembles the life of Jesus. That's what we call Christianity. So when we talk about Christianity, we're talking about the practicing of that Christ-like life, the living of that Christ-like life. That is Christianity. I look at it as a lifestyle. I don't look at Christianity as a religion. I look at it as a lifestyle. So it is actually a lifestyle of people who are living a life that resembles that of Jesus Christ. So that is how I define Christianity.
Okay, thank you so much, Apostle Tohndon, Augustine. Now, when we take a look at the way Christianity is being practiced across the African continent, there is a controversial debate that keeps rising all the time, whereby some people believe that Christianity has blessed Africa, while others believe that Christianity has come as a curse to Africa, or it was used as a way to deceive Africa, to maneuver Africans. Some, as is usually popularly said, that they came, for colonialism, and then with the Bible at the left hand to blindfold Africans in such a way that they will not be able to know what is good for them, and they will not be able to contest some issues which affect them. Now, Oru Allens Agbor, first of all, before you start, I want to know, are you a Christian?
I'm a Christian.
Now, but do you think the way Christianity is implemented across Africa, do you think it is a blessing or curse for Africa?
Actually, I cannot say 100% is a blessing, and I can't say 100% is a curse. But when you look at the two, you weigh them, you realize that I think it's more of a curse than a blessing to Africa.
Why do you say so?
Okay, there are a lot of, let's say, a lot of issues that come up when it concerns Christianity. First of all, I would like to take you back from the advent of Christianity in Africa. When you look at the transatlantic slave trade in Africa, you realize the first boat that came to Africa, which was made up of Christian missionaries, when that boat was going back, it took what? They took slaves. That's the first thing you need to know. Therefore, those people who were going out of Africa were people who could contribute to the development of Africa. And when you look at the transatlantic slave trade, you realize that it turned Africans to beggars. So I think the Christian missionaries that were doing that era really promoted this idea of the transatlantic slave trade. And after the transatlantic slave trade, they came up with another idea that they should console Africa, but consoling Africa was not the primordial aim. Consoling Africa was just to soften their minds, because they realized that they have wronged them during the transatlantic slave trade. So they tried to console Africa in order to also to bring another way of exploiting Africa, which was the advent of colonialism in Africa. If you look at colonialism in Africa, like when we talk about the negotiations made by let's say the Western or the imperialists, those who advocated for colonialism, you see the Christians. If you look at the English Baptist missionaries, you see like the Basel missions and all the rest, you realize that these people really advocated for colonialism. And colonialism, we are talking about a foreign power dominating another person in his or her house. Therefore, you try to implement policies that do not even suit my present reality or my environmental reality, but you force it on me. You don't even try to negotiate with me that maybe this one will be good, this one will be bad. So I think it's a very bad thing. We also go to the issue of the way they introduce education in Africa. Education, how did they introduce education, and how has that really affected us in our present Africa? Realize that education was meant for the rich, and up to today is meant for the rich. You see Christian who cannot afford a 3 square meal contributing for maybe the construction or maybe the building of a particular college, and at the end those Christians, their children cannot go to those schools. You see calling 300 and something thousand francs, of which those Christians were the ones who even contributed for the growth of that church. So when you look at such things, you really understand that Christianity is like an impediment to African development. While let's go to our African cultures. Up to today, you see, when maybe I belong to maybe a particular society, to promote my culture, they take it as bad. But when I forget about my culture, and they see it as good. Now, when you take a culture itself, people who don't know their culture, who don't practice their culture, they are bound for extinction. That's a word from a Pan-Africanist. They are bound for extinction. If they are bound for extinction, therefore we don't exist as Africans if we concentrate on the Christian notion, because the Christian notion, I think, is not the African, let's say part of the African culture. We have our own way of, maybe our own religious way. So it doesn't mean only Christianity will take you to heaven. There are other things. I think the most important thing is for you to live a good life. You must not really go to church, or you must not follow the way. There's what we call morality and ethics, and that's, I think, the bedrock of maybe righteousness. You also take the idea of naming. If I'm going to baptize as a Christian, if my name is Agbor, they will say Agbor is not a holy name. they should give you the name of a saint.
The English name.
Yes, they give you a name, maybe it's Joseph, not even English name. Because there are some names they say, no, these are not Christian names. They give you Christian names like Joseph, John, and all the rest. But if you take my name like Agbor, they say it's not a holy name. And the question I always ask is that if Agbor is not a holy name, does it mean maybe those who had those names before the advent of Christianity, they are in hellfire? Because there is this the notion, like the Catholics, they talk about the saint. So if they say Saint Joseph and all the rest, and they also talk about those who have gone to heaven, even though they don't even know them. So what if Agbor, or let's say Ayok or Mbo went to heaven and they are not aware? Then I want to baptize my child and the name is Mbo. They said no, it's not a Christian name.
Okay, we'll get back to you. I see the Reverend Father Eji Mumukon bubbling here. Can you just respond to the allegations that have been raised by Oru Allens Agbor?
Yeah, thank you very much. I enjoyed your point so much, but there is something I want us to go into. You have to go to decipher between imperialism and Christianity. The advent of Christianity in Africa, that was the 1st century, towards the end of the 1st century and the beginning of the 2nd century, that Christianity first came to Africa in the north of Africa. Because when we talk about Christianity in Africa, we talk about Africa in the north, and we talk about the sub-Saharan Africa. So Christianity first came towards the end of the 1st century. And what you have to know that for the missionaries, for the Christian missionaries, to be able to do what the message that Christ left for them, according to the Gospel of Mark, according to the Gospel of Mark, in chapter 15, verse 16, that is to evangelize the whole world. So they had to enter into partnership with the government, because then the government, the European government, was already coming into Africa in order to gain territories. So the missionaries only had to accept with them so that they could transport them to Africa for them to be able to carry out their work of evangelization. That is one. If we do not clear this basis, then we will just be debating on the air. And secondly, when you talk about the construction of schools and whatsoever, I want to tell you that education. In Africa, education in Africa is thanks to the missionaries. That is Christianity, what Christianity brought. I bring to you a simple issue. For instance, in Nigeria, in the Nigerian culture, in the Igbo culture, we had what we used to call the Osu. The Osu simply means that those who were considered as the outcast of the society, those that the African culture was rejecting as those not belonging to their culture. If you understand the system of the caste system, when religion came, when Christianity came, they had to take these people, and those were the first people that the missionaries sent to Europe. They studied and then came back, and they were acting as what? As catechists, as translators. And it is from the caste system that we had our first African priest, if I should come to the Catholic religion. So you see that in the basis of education, the Europeans have really done a lot of things, and we need to follow things chronologically in history to know when we have passed from different stages of evangelization, from what we call implantatio ecclesia. That is when they used to film the churches in Europe. They come and then they plant them here in Africa with their own aids. And if you go to Europe, you will see how the white missionaries were actually beggars from their brothers and sisters who would sell their dresses in order to help finance projects in Africa. So at one point in time, when the Europeans were leaving and the African missionaries were taking over, we do not have that kind of money. We have to turn to ourselves and say, we want to construct this. How do we do? How do we go about it? And I do not agree with you on the fact that the Christianity, they will build big schools and then they exploit people to take money. No, I do not agree with you. If you look at it detailedly in the construction of schools, for instance, my congregation is constructing a school now. We are not begging money from people in the quarter. It is from the little economy that we are making that we are able to build that school. So if, for example, we build that school and we say, okay, the school fees is this. So that is our right, because we have worked for it. So it is not like contributing, asking that they should contribute and then come and build a school. So we should not misplace values. And my brother, I would like to tell you and our televiewers that Christianity remains a blessing for Africa. I now state my position. Why is Christianity a blessing for Africa? Christianity is a blessing for Africa. Why? Because with the advent of Christianity, a lot of things have changed in the African culture. Not throwing away the fundamentals of the African culture, but a kind of what we call modification. Because you know, when there's a cross-pollination of cultures, there's something that actually changed. So the Christian culture and the African culture, with this cross-pollination, you have experienced changes. For instance, before Christianity came, they used to kill twins in the African culture. Twins used to be eliminated because they did not understand how come two people in the same womb, and even sometimes the woman will be banished. But Christianity came with the Western education to say that no, it happens. That is why we can explain the split of the chromosomes and whatsoever, that we have twins, and the lives of twins were saved, my brother. So if you were a twin, you understand better what I'm saying. So that is the first point of this evolution in the African culture. And secondly, when you talk about the saints, I will just want to reply because you talk about the using of names. Today, I'm from Com. You go to Com, I have, even in my family, I have Afumbom, who was baptized as Afumbom. He was baptized as Afumbom. So when the church talks about names, the church is not telling you to change your name, because you know names do affect a child. So when they ask you, what is the meaning of this name? What is the meaning of this name? If they discover that that name in your language will have a negative impact on the child, they tell you to change. It's not as if they are insisting for you to take Western names. No, myself, I am an African, and I support what you call it, African values. So today it is no longer that way, and I beg to differ again with you. I want you to underline something. Talk about Christianity and not Christian fanaticism, because those are two different things. When we talk about Christianity, we're talking about Christianity in its virgin sense, in its pure sense, in its sense the way Christ has wanted it. That is how we should look at it. Because if you start looking at the way within the course of history, within the course of time, man has maneuvered over it, then you will have some misplaced values.
Thank you so much, Reverend Father Mumukon. Let's now join Nuh Franklin. Nuh Franklin, are you there?
I'm there,
you're in China. You're in China. Can you tell us that China is a blessed country?
Oh my God, China is indeed a very, very blessed country. China is a very peaceful country, and for the length of time that I've been here, I've observed a high level of moral standards in China.
But are they Christians?
When you move, can you hear me?
Are they Christians?
No, Chinese are not Christians.
So how come they are blessed?
That's a big question, and that's one of the reasons why I started questioning myself about so many things that we're supposed to talk about today. Chinese are about 1.3,600,000 and something inhabitants, and they have done a great job to be living almost well, and they are not Christians. They don't go to churches. They don't have churches. There are some spotted churches around that you can move around China for 3 years and you will never find one. From what I've heard. But those churches are actually 0.00%. But the Chinese people are very, very blessed. And I started asking myself, how come these guys are so blessed and they're not Christians? And that's one of the reasons why I started asking myself questions that we're going to talk about today.
And I saw you on your Facebook page post. That was how I was able to fetch you out. You spent time criticizing Christianity. What is wrong with Christianity in Africa that you spend your time criticizing it?
Yes, my brother, I'm a born Christian, and I was baptized in 2005. I grew up in a Christian family, and I extend a hand of fellowship to those who are Christians. I don't question their faith. I question the objective of the religion. Now, what is my bone of contention with Christianity? Is the fact that the context in which Christianity was introduced into Africa was so brutal, was so violent, and it was in a particular context where Africans were crying out of the effects of slavery and slave trades. The fact that the people who introduced the Christian religion came from the same homes where slave traders came from the same homes where colonizers came from the same home where new colonizers came from, has always been wondering in my mind, why should that be? Now, when you look at Christianity as a way of life, it promotes values. Which values? Western values. We are not white people. Which kind of Western values are we talking about here? The rights of homosexuals. So many kind of scandals, so many kind of things that you hear, and even the man of highest moral rectitude, supposedly, the Pope will say homosexuals have rights and stuff like that. Those are the kind of values that they promote, called world values or secular values. Now, when you look at Christianity as a religion, it is a religion like any other religion. We have Christianity, we have Islam, we have Buddhism, we have Hinduism, and all these religions claim that they are there to serve the world. They have a Messiah that they always refer to as the only Son of God, the Creator. Now, when I would ask myself, is it that only Christians are going to serve the world? What about the millions of other people from different races and from different religions? Now, if Christianity is going to serve the world, since its arrival in Africa up to today, what are the results? Where is the African man today? These are so many questions I was asking mine. Now, we want to come back to the topic of today, whether Christianity is a blessing or curse to Africans. I will say that Christianity is first of all an economy, because in the world we have basically two economies, the knowledge and the religious economy. Christianity is an economy, and when you look at the wealth that have been taken out of Africa since the arrival of the Christian religion, you will be so scandalized. You feel very, very angry. You know, just through the tithes and the contribution that Africans contribute every day in their lives, the greatest part of that money is being sent to Europe. Christianity indeed is unproductive due to Christian dogma, due to the how can I call this? Due to the conformism that comes with Christianity. So many youths have abandoned hard work, and all of them want to be Christians or apostles or evangelists. That we have so many graduates, master's degree level, who have chosen to be evangelists in churches. They don't want to work, they want to win souls to Christ. There is a rise of immoral practices in the Christian religion. Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Just speak up a little bit so that we get you better. Just speak up a little bit with more punch.
Okay. So there is a rise of immoral practices in Africa, where in several cases clergy are being implicated in scandals, sexual scandals, and We have people like Annie Laurie, a researcher in the US, who has documented a lot on sexual scandals involving clergy, mostly from the Roman Catholic denomination, and with children. No? Christianity, in fact, is sales concept of white supremacy. We were told that all our ancestors were evil. Thanks to Christianity, we have almost lost our identities. Thanks to Christianity, we know that Jesus is white and Satan is black. Thanks to Christianity, our people around the streets worshiping a Jew in the name of Christ. And when you want to go or push further in your research, I will tell you that Christ, Jesus, from my research, is a concept. The Christian is a copyright of Mithraism, a former Egyptian, an Egyptian religion that first existed before Christianity.
Nuh Franklin, we are having some. Nuh Franklin, are you there?
Yeah.
We are having some interceptions in your voice, and it's time for us to see how we can fix that out. So let us just hold on. We'll try to fix that out. But let's now move over to Bamenda and meet Apostle Tohndon Augustine. Apostle Tohndon, are you there?
Yes, sir.
You've heard allegations that have been raised by Nuh Franklin. He's talking about the fact that Jesus is a concept. He's criticizing the fact that money is being collected as tithe and the money is being sent to Europe, and we don't really see the development in Africa. He's also raising the fact that people are joining Christianity because it is an easy way to make money, especially those who are apostles, are prophets, and evangelists. What is your reaction to such allegations?
Okay, I want to just start a bit by first looking at what the first speaker, one of my first brothers, first said before the Reverend Father came in. Then I will come briefly to what Brother Nuh has just said. I want to say, before reacting on Christianity, it should be well known, I am a civil society activist also, and I'm also a Pan-Africanist. So I'm not just an apostle of God, I'm not just a preacher, I'm a civil society activist, I am a Pan-Africanist, I am a businessman, successful businessman myself. So just introducing myself like this should also be able to wipe off some of these allegations that are coming now. I'm going to come to it. I see Christianity at a different point and a different way. I want to say this. Christianity has existed in Africa before the 15th century. Christianity has existed in Africa before the advent of slave trade. It was in the 1st and 2nd centuries AD that Christianity was being introduced into Africa, and I think it was mostly in the northern parts of Africa and not in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, Christianity existed. When we study history today, we find people like St. Augustine. It happens to be my name, St. Augustine, and St. Augustine was from North Africa. St. Augustine was from North Africa, if I'm not being mistaken. So, and he lived in centuries past, before the 14th century, where slave trade and whatsoever was being introduced in Africa. And he was from North Africa. And I want, if I'm mistaken, I think the Reverend Father is there, and he will be able to actually clear that. But I know he was from North Africa, according to my own researches, and he was a bishop. He was the first black bishop, and all those things. Now, I want to say this. Christianity came into sub-Saharan Africa with the arrival of the Europeans. And they came in with Christianity and all these things. And let me tell you something, Mr. Elvis, you are a journalist I respect so much, and I want to start by saying that many people today, they are mistaking Christianity for something else. And because of this mistake, we have a lot of wrong analysis that are being done today. When I listen to Mr. Nuh, I'm really so happy hearing some of the assertions he gave in his discussion. And I just wish he listens to me very carefully, because there may be something that he will be able to pick up from this. Let me say, Christianity was weaponized. Christianity was weaponized at the time of colonization. Let me say this very clear. You must understand the difference between colonization of Africa, the exploitation of Africa, and the Christianity into Africa. Listen, Africa is not the only country in the world or continent in the world that was colonized. America was also colonized. The America that is the dream of everybody in the world today. Everybody in the world today wants to live in America. You see people dying in the Panama forest, dying in Guatemala and all these things, struggling to get to America. But America was a British colony, just like Western Cameroon was a British colony. But what happened? Why is America not like Africa? We have to be able to address this because we are actually shifting the blame of our failure to a wrong cause. And because of this is why Africans are not progressing. Because we're blaming Christianity for everything that is going wrong in Africa today. It is true that some of the allegations raised by the first speaker and also raised by Chris, they are true. They are true. I say 100% true. As a Pan-Africanist and as a servant of God, it is good to speak the truth to the people and let people's eyes be open. Let us not beat around the point, because beating around the point keeps people in the same bondage day in, day out. Let me say this. Christianity was weaponized, Mr. Elvis. Christianity was weaponized. Now, I want to let you understand that the vessels that transported the Christian missionaries to Africa was the same vessels that were transporting the European explorers. And these journeys were being sponsored by their country's government. They were moving on funds raised by their governments to be able to come, to be able to send those ships to come and explore Africa. It began with the so-called exploration. We'll hear about people like Mungo Park. We'll hear about people like David Livingstone. David Livingstone was called an evangelist. He was called a British evangelist. And they said he was looking for the source of Lake Tanganyika or whatsoever. I don't know for what reason will a man be looking for the source of River Niger and the source of... They wanted to know how far the river goes inland, so that when the exploiters are coming, they will be able to know how to be able to move in. Now listen, these people were the ones who came with the missionaries. And when they came with the missionaries were given firm instructions by their government. The missionaries have the good news. They want to come to Africa. They want to evangelize. They don't have the means. And the people who are transporting them are giving them a condition for them to be able to be transported to Africa. And what is the condition? When you go to Africa, you must preach a gospel that will not open the eyes of the Africans. Now listen, it doesn't mean these guys didn't have the gospel. It doesn't mean they didn't have the good news. They had the good news. But they were instructed to preach the gospel that does not open the eyes of the Africans. Anybody that disputes this, I will request you to go and do your research very well. Look at the Belgians, the King Leopold's letter to the Belgian missionaries in Congo. What did King Leopold say? He said, pass on the Beatitudes. Tell the Africans that blessed are the poor, for they shall be able to meet God. Go and read the letter.
Okay, thank you so much, Apostle Tohndon. We had an interception there. We are going to come back to you. Time for us to fix that out. But before we fix that out, let us go to our machines. We've been getting reactions coming from across Africa. We've been getting reactions from Mozambique, from Kenya, from Ghana, from South Africa. Let us take 2 reactions, and then we'll be back in the studio to continue with the debate.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank God for another opportunity that we can share ideas together. I want to put forward my contribution on the topic we have today on, is Christianity a blessing or a curse to Africa? Is Christianity a blessing or a curse to Africa? In my own point of view, I would want to say Christianity is both a blessing and a curse. And I will explain why, and I believe we will all understand. In the book of Luke chapter 2 verse 34, Simeon, who was in the temple the day Mary and Joseph brought Jesus to the temple as a baby, said, this child is for the rising and falling of many. And I believe we cannot talk about Christianity without talking about Jesus, because just as Muhammad is of Islam, so Jesus is of Christianity. So if we are talking about Christianity, in another way we are saying, is the coming or the introduction of Jesus to Africa a blessing or a curse? And as Simeon rightly said, his coming is for the rising and falling of many. Why the rising? The rising because those who will live according to the principles of God will rise, while those who will live contrary to the principles of God will fall. Now, how is Christianity a blessing to Africa? I want to believe that the coming of Christianity or the introduction of Christ to Africa made us to understand fully who God is. Africa used to have so many deities, but if you look at it all, if you study it all, you discover that they were in search of that one true God. And I believe the introduction of Christianity or Jesus to Africa is an introduction of that one true God who is the creator of heaven and earth. Now, I would equally want to say the introduction of Christianity leads us to an opportunity to discover ourselves. Why do I say so? Now, the discovery or the greatest discovery on earth is not the discovery of the sea route to India, nor the new world which is now called America, or what we have today as a computer, our mobile phones, and what have you, the airplane. But the greatest discovery everyone can ever make on earth is the discovery of one's self. We have discovered a lot of things, but we fail to discover ourselves. And you can only truly discover yourselves when you are well educated and regenerated by the word of God, which is a blessing that Christianity has brought for us. I would want to say, and for you to discover yourselves, therefore means you must be able to have developed mentally, physically, spiritually, and socially, which is what most of us in the churches today do lack. Most of us are developed spiritually and we fail to develop socially. We are so much drowned by the activities of the church that we forget that we are supposed to be social with the people we live in our communities. The Bible says in the book of Luke chapter 5 verse 22 that Jesus increased in wisdom, which is mental development. He increased in stature, which is physical development. He increased in the favor of God, which is spiritual development, and in favor with man, which has to do with social development. No matter how spiritual you are, if you are not social, you become a problem to your community. And so, for us to discover ourselves and for us to enjoy what Christianity has for us is when we are able to take into us the right and the truth of the Word of God, which will enable us to grow mentally, grow physically, grow spiritually, and grow socially. Now, not to take much of our time, I want to say, how has Christianity become a curse to Africa? Looking at our background of native doctors and soothsayers and cowries and gambling, or what should I say, we like consulting or spirits. Now, some so-called men of God have taken it as an opportunity to enslave many. They don't teach them the truth of the Word of God, but they confuse them with a lot of prophecies and a lot of things that make people not to go for the truth, but as now tend to look at these people as some magicians who are about to wave a magic wand and things happen. People no longer...
Hello viewers, my name is Atuya Nangeri Atuya. I'm from Kenya and I would like to contribute to the topic of the day. Christianity is a curse rather than a blessing to Africa. Indeed, Christianity is a curse to Africa. Let us start by the definition of the term Christianity. Christianity is a type of religion where they believe in the person Jesus Christ, the church is the sacred place of worship, and the Bible is the source of their doctrines. Why do I say Christianity is a source of curse to Africa? Number one, it has led to confusion, in that they lack a specific day of worship. Christians lack a specific day of worship. You'll find some Christians believing that Saturday is the day of worship, and other Christians believe that Sunday is the day of worship. And also, they lack a common church. If Christianity was a blessing, they could have a common church, not have different churches among Christianity. A good example is among the Muslims. They only have the mosque. But in Christians, there are so many churches which have different doctrines. Number 2, the Christians have glorified the Western culture so much that they tend to diminish or condemn the African culture. This is because they are viewing the African culture to be ungodly. I don't know which ungodly they're talking about, because Africans are believed to be so much religious because they pray anytime, any day. And now the Christianity, they tend to condemn Africans to be ungodly. I don't know how. And they have led to the end of the African religion and the African cultures.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Those were reactions from some of our viewers. We had a reaction there from Kenya. We had a reaction. The guy who was standing is Eugene Ta, all the way from Yaoundé. Ivo Boh, you're coming to the debate now. It has been so hot and you have been boiling. And I want to ask you a question. You remember that most of our forefathers were taken to Europe, to America during the era of slave trade. And we would have imagined that those who took us as slaves were supposed to be cursed. But the irony is that those we spend time here in Africa cursing our ancestors, binding them and praying against them, probably as if they were the enemies to our progress. Do you really think that our ancestors, our African ancestors, were that wicked to be able to block us from evolving in life?
Actually, Elvis, I don't think so. I don't think so. The situation is we are all human and we have our weaknesses. Whatever case that occurred within the period of the slave trade and slavery was an accident. An accident following the circumstances in which they lived. And we are not that perfect. Today, I think that if you are given the opportunity to a good number of us, we'll still do the same thing. Take, for example, we have the theme, Christianity a curse or a blessing to Africans. I first of all ask, who is a Christian? My doctrine tells me that a Christian is someone who believes in Jesus Christ, is baptized, and tries to live like him. Now, who is Christ? Christ is the Son of God and is God, the second person of the Blessed Trinity. Now, whether Jesus Christ was blue, black, yellow, brown, reddish, I don't care about it. I care about the mission of Christ on earth. And the mission of Christ is all what matters to me. Now, if we go to think, if you see the notions, the various school of thoughts that come up, is that we are looking at this issue of Christianity as something for the stranger. It might have come to, let's say, Jesus Christ must have been born, let's say, a Jew, or in the Palestinian era, in Palestine, and he grew up as a Jew, as somebody mentioned it. Actually, he was a Jew, but he's God of a particular tribe. We cannot quantify God. God cannot be quantified. He's omniscient and omnipotent. Because, we said from the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Now, John 1:1 says, the Word became flesh and dwells among us. Now, Christ would have dwelled in any family in the world. The fact that he came up to be a Jew did not. If you look at the book of Luke, Luke indicates that what? The Jews, they thought that Jesus Christ came for them. But when Jesus Christ, before he rose from the dead, he said what? He told his disciples that, go and preach the gospel to all nations. Which means he came for all humanity. The missionaries who came to Africa, we cannot go back to nail them on the cross to indicate that they came, they had this, that. If you look at the Christianity implanted in Africa, I'll take it in first. Look at the political domain. They brought the teachings of Christ to us. Christ taught us that what? Leadership is service. If we follow the masterpiece of leadership to see that all our leaders are masters or they are dictators, they go against the Christian norms. Because when Jesus Christ was washing the leg of Peter, Peter refused. He said, if I don't wash your leg, then you are not going to be my friend. Now, Peter had to submit. He said, what I'm doing to you, you have to do that to other people. He's indicating to all leaders. African leaders that they have to be submissive. They have to serve their people and not to lord over them. That's the first aspect which Christianity brought to the Africans. The next aspect is, look at the social and economic. If you go to aspect concerning schools, I wonder how Africa would have been if there were no schools. I really wonder. When we talk about issues in the, I've been in a congregation, I don't want to call names now because now this about congregation, but the missionaries that came up with the various schools, one of their prime motive is for evangelization. They had token fees. My father paid by school fees in the primary school. It was 2,500 per year. When things are evolving and issues are going up, we should be able to move according to the standard. It was free, actually very free education, almost like nothing at all. So the Christian missionaries who came into Africa implanted us literacy. That literacy which is helping us now to think.
But for instance, I'm not cutting you short, but that literacy has pushed us to abandon our own. For example, there are so many people who cannot write their own languages. We spend time competing over who speaks better English and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, English is normally not supposed to be our language. It is an agenda. Many believe that the fact that they came to teach us, but they came to teach us their own language, you know.
That is true. The Christian missionary, Elvis, they could not have come to teach us our language in our own land. They taught us their own language, and we use our language, their language, to be able to understand our own languages. There is the Bible now in Mungaka. You have the Bible in Com, you know, and other this. If you go to the Igbo land, you can read the Bible there. But being illiterate does not mean that you have to. It doesn't prevent you from learning other languages. You know,
but we still find people here in Africa who are not happy about the languages. That is, who feel that speaking in English makes you more civilized. So speaking in English makes you more modern than speaking in your local language.
That should be the defect of the individual. I think that they are not actually Africans. You know, there are people, because they are talking about, in short, when you make me, I have to indicate some of the aspect of assimilation. That's an aspect of assimilation. It is not, which means that the fact is, you see, Elvis, when you are an African, some people have the notion that, let me start one time. When I was studying, I came down and indicated that I was doing public administration here in Cameroon. They said, no, one of my friends who was a lecturer in the Texas University indicated that, why didn't you come to study abroad? I said, what is the difference? The theories I study in theory of administration here in Cameroon, are they different from the ones which you study in America or in Europe? They are the same thing. So all the theories, they are the same. But when you come in there, it is implementation. So any African who refuses his identity, he has himself to blame, not the white man.
Okay, Reverend Father Edwin.
Yeah, thank you so much. And the debate is coming on and on. I want to thank Mr. Boh and Apostle Tohndon Augustine for their intervention. And I also want to react to what
Nuh
Franklin just posted. My brother, you see, we cannot keep on blaming the missionaries or the Europeans for the backwardness of Africa. This is 60 plus that Cameroon gained independence. So who is still colonizing Cameroon today? Who is still making Cameroon backward? I come back into the circle of religion. You made mention of something that you said the Pope was encouraging homosexuality. My brother, please go and learn Italian. When you learn Italian and you understand what the Pope said, not basing on the translation that was made in French and in English, that brought a lot of controversies, you understand exactly what the Pope was saying about. I give you an example that if you have a child and your child is a thief, that child remains your child. Yeah. That child remains your child. And it is even very clear in the Bible. Jesus says, I did not come for those who are good, but I came for what? For the sick. The sick in what? The sick in moral attitudes. Jesus came for these people. So if somebody is a homosexual, the Pope was only saying that word. Accommodate them. Do not despise them. Do not throw them away. Bring them. That is why the arms of Jesus, you find them open on the cross. He's always welcoming sinners. And there is great joy in heaven when one sinner repents. So he's only welcoming them to teach them, to say that this way of life is not good. That is one. Secondly, when you talk about Christianity, you talked about 0.000 of Christianity in China, my brother. It is up to 3% plus the population of China that is into Christianity. So please go back again and then you do your research. And secondly, the church has not stopped anybody from developing in life. Boh Elvis is my classmate. He knows. I am a carpenter. I did carpentry in Georgian City Academy. And it is carpentry I am practicing today as a priest. So even as a priest, I don't depend, you talked about tithes, I don't depend on tithes. I don't depend on tithes. And tithes is for the development of the church, not for the personal pocket of a priest or of whosoever. I work in a youth center where I work, I produce chairs, I produce tables, and when I'm being paid, it is from there that I also have something that I can put in my pocket and do my things about. So we are no longer in that world where we feel that maybe priests and whosoever don't do anything. And another thing I want to say about this thing, there's a theologian they call Hans Kung. Hans Kung, sorry, I'm going to say it in French. Hans Kung says that word. He talks about what they call the malessence de l'église. Meaning that word, that the church is good, the church is holy from its founder, Jesus Christ, who is holy. But those who make up the church is you and I. You and I, we Christians, we human beings, with our different tenets, being them good tenets or bad tenets. So if I am a Christian and I am bad, it doesn't make Christianity bad. That is me. It doesn't make Christianity bad, because Christianity as a system in itself is good, and it is for human promotion. It is for human promotion. And there are a lot of things when you come into the Jesus' debate, whether Jesus was black, Jesus was white, like Mr. Boh said, it really doesn't matter whether Jesus was black or Jesus was white. It is not the issue of color that matters. And you agree with me that in a normal representation of the world, that when something is not good, they tend to say that it is black. So it is a general conception in the world. So when I'm saying that Jesus is black and Satan is black, because I know where your debate is turning, you want to say that Christianity is trying to say that Africans, we are black. No, it is not true. That is not true. And when you talk about Mr. Boh, you just asked, you asked about the fact that Christianity has made us to forget our languages. No, this is what we call the evolution in history. The evolution in history. Before Western education came to Africa, we were speaking our language, and we were not learning it. We did not have what we call a school. That is a formal place where education can be transmitted. Now, Western education, which was brought partially by Christianity, I say partially because the imperial government also brought in Christianity. This one was brought partially by Christianity and fostered by the missionaries of the different denominations. It is true then that today we are able to look and then get the real phonetics and pronunciations of our local languages, because our IQ has been opened on the fact of maybe the English language or the French language, Italian, Spanish, whatsoever. Now we come back now, and that's why today, like Mr. Boh said, we have the Com Bible, we have the Lamsaw Bible, we have the Ewondo version of the Bible, and whatsoever. So you see that this, if we keep on counting the blessings that Christianity has brought as a whole, in a general form, my brother, the development of Africa, the rate at which development and progress has entered Africa today is thanks and thanks and thanks to Christianity. We should not single out individuals in the Christian forum who are not doing well to brandish Christianity as being a curse to Africa.
Thank you so much, Edwin, for the Mumukon. Oru Allens Agbor, I don't want to limit you because I had my questions to ask, but we have about 15 minutes left. Just briefly, you've been able to pick some points from the reaction of our Pastor Tohndon, Augustine, Reverend Father Mumukon, Boh Ivo, and Nuh Franklin. What is your reaction so far?
Okay, what we fail to understand is there's a difference between what ought to be and what is. As a political science and also somebody who is concentrated on the international scene, that's my focus. What ought to be and what is. when we say maybe Jesus Christ came for maybe the unrighteous and all the rest, and we are talking about maybe Christianity itself is good and this is what Christians have to do, it is what ought to be. But we are talking about what has Christianity done to Africa today. That's the first thing. Now, like I said, Christianity is a blessing and is also a curse to Africa, but when we look at it, like trying to measure, we try to understand that Christianity is more of a curse. Reverend Father talked about partnering with the governments. That's the European government. When they were coming, maybe they entered the same boats. It is because they were partnering with the government. The government was maybe the European governments were coming to do something, and the Christian missionaries were coming to do their own thing. But now, partnering with them, obviously I know this man is a thief and he's going to thief, then I partner with him that we are working together. Obviously you are an accomplice. That's the first thing. You are an accomplice. So if the Christians were the Christian missionaries were coming to Africa and they were partnering with the European government, of which they knew that they were coming to colonize, they were coming to enslave people from another race, is obviously a crime to humanity. Apostle also made mention of that Christianity, the main mention of the education, and Mr. Ivo also tried to add more flesh to that. I want to correct you. Education in the world started in Africa. Therefore, if Christianity they came, or maybe they did not introduce, I think they reintroduced, because after the death of our kingdoms, you see people like in Bamun, and the Tohndon invented a handwriting. That's part of education. If you go to Egypt, the same thing. So education, or maybe education collapsed at a certain time in African history or in the African society, but came again as a result of Christianity. And the education that was introduced to us in the during the Christian era was what we call the Western education. The Western education, I guess you are studying, and I think you are maybe a scholar. Education now is, there are two types of education: an education that educates you to esteem yourself from your development, and the education that makes you to develop your own area. Those are two things. Imagine they are teaching me a concept which cannot solve a problem in my community. Is that the education we need? Is a curse. We also you made mention of the aspect of colonialism. I mean the aspect of maybe time changing. Christian missionaries came to Africa, and maybe they invented maybe culture and all the rest. But I want you to also understand that Africa has gone through three eras: the pre-colonial, the colonial, and the post-colonial era. What happened in the colonial era, where Christianity was, and I think the Christian missionaries advocated for the colonial era also, I think the legacy still lives in us. So if we are blaming, it's not that we are totally blaming them, but we are blaming that they caused something, and we try to do what, to look for possible solutions to enhance our own development. Like we said, the way they brought schools, yes, those schools, how did those schools enrich maybe our culture, enrich our development? Because mind me, the most important thing is a culture. If you are unable to uphold your culture, you cannot develop. Just like one of our brother from China was talking, China developed as a result of what they use what we call their local way. They use their own culture to develop themselves. But now we Africans, we are trying to use the Western ideologies to develop our own continent, which I think they don't suit our realities. So it's a very good thing we need to take into consideration when talking about development. I would also like to use the words of two philosophers, Machiavelli and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. According to these two philosophers, let me go from to Machiavelli. Machiavelli was trying to tell leaders that if you want to uphold power, if you want to consolidate power, if you want to have power, you should ensure that the masses, you should ensure that those whom you govern should be of the Christ-like nature. Same to Rousseau. He also, like I say, he also reinforced this philosophy. That's Christianity. And that's a tool those Western imperialists use to change our mentality, to embed us in slavery. Because we were thinking that, okay, after imagine if Africa like took on a revenge or did not welcome the second era of the Europeans in Africa, that's a colonial era. What could have happened? Maybe we could have not been facing what we are facing today. But because they brought this notion that maybe they try to console us, they preach Christianity to us, we were unable to feel that they had another agenda at hand, which was to make us, to colonize us, to ensure that we remain under their tutelage. So I think it's a very bad thing. This government used Christianity to put us what we are. And if you look at these three eras, the colonial, the pre-colonial, the colonial, and the post-colonial, if you look at our heritage, if you look at the legacies, if you look at our practices, you realize that what the colonial era is what has really affected our society. It has really made us to be where we are today. So if we are to develop, if we are to change that mindset, we need to do what? We need to decolonize our minds. We need to decolonize the culture brought to us by these foreign powers.
Okay, Oru Allens Agbor, that is deep. Thank you so much. We now go over to Bamenda. Apostle Tohndon Augustine, are you still there? Apostle Tohndon Augustine, are you there? Let's try Nuh Franklin. Nuh Franklin, are you there? They are not with us. Okay, they're joining us. Apostle Tohndon Augustine, I want you to, if you are there, I want you to react briefly to some of the allegations that have been raised by Oru Allens Agbor, and maybe talk about spiritual development, which we have not really focused on today. Because I think that the main mission of Christianity is for Africans to be saved and for them to die and meet their Messiah and not to die and go to hell.
Okay. So thank you very much for this opportunity once more. I think that there is actually an issue which we are leaving out here. I think that there's actually an issue which we're leaving out. Hello, can you hear me?
I get you 5 on 5.
Yes, so there's actually an issue which we are leaving out in all our discussions, which is what I am really coming up with right now. I want to really say that my brother who just finished talking now, he is actually making points, but I want us not to point a finger at the wrong person. You see, the problem with us Africans, why up to now we are not moving forward as a continent, is because we love to blame the wrong people. We love to blame the wrong people. We are actually pointing a finger at Christianity for the reason why we are where we are. And the Reverend Father asked a simple question. 60 years after independence, the white left us. Where are we? There is something I want us to understand. America was colonized. America was colonized. And after that, the British left America. Today, America has become the dream of everyone in the world. Now, the problem in Africa is this: Christianity was introduced in a wrong way. And I want to say, Mr. Nuh, that I can't actually just say 100% that Christianity in Africa has been a 100% blessing. But Christianity as a whole is a blessing. That the word Christianity is a blessing to everybody. But to Africa, Christianity was weaponized. I want to say this, and I want all of us to hear this. The governments wanted to use Christianity because they knew it's a tool that they knew that Christianity actually, when people receive Christianity, they learn to be humble, they learn to fear God, they learn to respect authorities as what the Bible says. You know, one of our administrators was actually confronted by a woman who went and was holding a political meeting to consult people, and he was quoting the Bible, and he was misquoting the Bible at that point. This is actually exactly what happened when the missionaries brought this gospel to Africa. Now, I quoted the Belgian missionaries who actually were coming to DRC Congo, and what actually happened was that King Leopold wrote a letter to the Belgian missionaries and instructed the Belgian missionaries that when they go, they should focus so much on the Beatitude, preaching and telling people that blessed are the poor in spirit, in order to build the African mindset or mentality. But this was not Jesus' principle. You can go and check that later on the internet, you will have it. This was not the principle of Jesus. Now, Mr. Boh says something. Because someone misused a knife, it doesn't mean we should ban the knives. It doesn't mean the knife is bad. So because someone misused a cutlass, it doesn't mean we should ban the cutlass. There's something I want us to know here. Christianity was God's response to the human search for him. We lost a heritage in the Garden of Eden. We lost a relationship with God. And God sent Jesus to come and re-establish this relationship to us. It was brought to Africa in the 1st and 2nd century, not only at this time of slave trade when we are seen. Now, there's something I want you to understand. When you go back to the Bible, you don't find anything about white Jesus in the Bible. Let us understand this. We don't find anything about white Jesus in the Bible. We don't find anything about white God in the Bible. We actually hear Africa mentioned in the Bible more than Europe. You remember that even in the Bible, in the Garden of Eden, right there in Genesis, we are told that there was a river that supplied right down to Cush and Sheba. Cush and Sheba, these are names that are found in African history, and they are in Africa. We are told in the Bible that when Abraham was faced with extinction because of famine, he left down to Egypt. Egypt was in Africa, and Abraham was nurtured in Egypt. If we have the Hebrew race today, it's because of Africa. When Jacob was actually faced with problems, Jacob was brought down to Africa, and Jacob actually came down to Africa as a family and went out of Africa as a nation. The nation of Israel, we know today, actually was nurtured in Africa. When Jesus was born, they wanted to kill Jesus. The Holy Spirit, the angel came and said, Jesus should be rushed to Africa. I believe Africa has been mentioned in the Bible more than every other continent. I don't see America in the Bible. I don't see Europe in the Bible. I am not actually struggling to make the Bible become like a racist kind of a tool. No. But I want to tell you that the Bible was weaponized. Christianity was weaponized. The missionaries were used. But actually, God is universal. God is the father of all. God is not the father of some particular people. And I want us to understand that Christianity talks about a relationship with God. It is not a religion. And I want to say, Mr. Nuh mentioned something. He said, China is blessed. I agree with him 100%, Mr. Boh Elvis. It will surprise you. I agree with him 100%. I want to say China is blessed. Why? Because of the mentality of the Chinese people. It is not because of their religion. It is because of their mentality. Africa has a problem. Mr. Elvis, do you know that those who leave Africa and travel to America, they actually totally forget about the African tradition? They abandon the African tradition. You find them defending homosexuality. You find them defending all those Western cultures. They have forgotten all those things that were put in them when they were young. Now, what is happening? Why did they lose their culture? When a Chinese travels to America, he doesn't lose his culture. He remembers his language. He acts as a Chinese. He eats Chinese food. When you go to America, you even find Chinatown. You'll find Chinatown in everywhere you go. The Indians, when they come to Africa, they don't lose their culture. But why is it that Africans, when you go to other places, you abandon your culture? This is not a problem of Christianity. I am a Pan-Africanist as well as I'm a preacher. And I want you to understand that I have noticed a lot of problems with our African continent, that for us to solve them, we must accept the blame ourselves as Africans and start treating our problems. Let us not point the finger at the wrong place. Let me tell you, it is also thanks to Christianity, for many of us who are seated here, that some of the ills we had in the society, like the Reverend Father cited, the killing of the twins, we knew about the SARS-wood in Cameroon, the SARS-wood where people were wrongly accused. When you are accused that you have killed somebody, will give you SARS-wood to drink, and then at the end of the day you die. And some people, we have cases that show that some people were wrongly accused and they ended up dying. Christianity has changed, has reduced witchcraft in our community, and a lot of things has happened. I know there have been ills. Hello? Yes?
Of the program, quite unfortunate. We hope to have you in the program more and more, especially when you're in Douala, because we've discovered that there are a lot of things that you want to say, and this is a platform for you to reach out to the entire Africa. So we want to really thank you so much, Apostle, for taking time out of your busy schedule all the way from Bamenda with internet connection difficulties, but you were there to really share your points of view to the public. We really appreciate Apostle Tohndon Augustine.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nuh Franklin, are you there with us?
Yes, I'm there, Mr. Elvis.
What?
Can you hear me?
I just give you 1 minute. Exceptionally, our production crew, I just give you 1 minute for you to conclude. Just 1 minute, please.
Okay. My conclusion is that my brothers should not compare Africa with America, because America was never enslaved. That's the first conclusion that I want to make. And the second one that I want to talk about is about the connection that the church, especially the Roman Catholic Church, has with the politicians in Africa. We have seen recent outings of clergy of higher rectitude telling lies on media and trying to support politicians against his own people. I think if the church has to preach justice, if the church has to preach truthfulness, the church needs to stand on the side of the people that are oppressed not to stand in between the oppressed people, soften their hearts while they are being crushed by the politicians. In fact, Elvis, I would have loved to talk. Because of time constraint, I hope to be with you another time. But however, I want that before we should separate, let us answer ourselves this question. Is Jesus Christ the only Son of God? Is he God? Now that the Bible says that nobody can go to God except through Jesus, where are the other 5 billion people from different religions going to go to? We should answer this question. In fact, my critics that you see every day, I want to tell Africans to be more spiritual and to shun away from the Western religions. They should connect to the supernatural being, which is God. He is not a Christian. He is not religious. He is just God. And you see him every day in whatever thing you do.
We hope to have you subsequently again and again in this program. We are running off Ivo Boh. You have 35 seconds.
Okay, thank you, Elvis. Thank you, televiewers. Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and he is God. He came and introduced Christianity. He came and introduced the word of God to mankind, and he remains supreme. He made a statement, not anyone, not he who says, Lord, Lord, will get into the kingdom of God, but he who does the will of his Father. So all other Christians, be it Buddhists, Hindus, Judaism, and all that, they will get to heaven. They will get to heaven. You know, because even in the Quran, it's mentioned in Surah chapter 3, verse 4, that a virgin gave birth to a son, to a child who was named Jesus. You know, they recognize Christ there. You need to go and find out very well. But the main mission of Christianity, we have almost rounded with the debate, which was so great. And I think Alain deviated a lot from the debate. They are asking, is Christianity a blessing or a curse? Alain went back to be talking about how Christianity, how the white man came with Christianity. We are based on the fruits of Christianity in our own moment. At the present moment, it has been of great importance. Many millions and millions of Africans are there into Christianity as of now, which is very, very good. And our mentality has gradually changed. It has been able to help to tame up Christians, you know, tame up a good number of, you have heard of, it used to be a lot of coup d'etats in Africa, they have reduced, thanks to Christianity. Thank you for bringing up such a topic. At least Africans know that if they die, they will go to heaven. So they try to do good. They try to love their brothers.
Oru Allens Agbor, 35 seconds, please.
Thank you very much. Like I said, if you want to develop as Africans, we should try to have a rethink about Christianity. One of the guests made mention of Jesus is being mentioned in Africa more than in Europe. The question which I would like to end the debate is, despite the fact that we have really been converted from maybe paganism, as you think, to Christianity, have we developed? Thank you.
Reverend Father Mumukon, you have 35 seconds.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would love to say that the debate is interesting, and I still stand on the ground that Christianity is a blessing, and a very big blessing to Africa. Because if we look at Christianity, when Christ came, it was what? For the sake of human promotion, for the promotion of man. That is, to uplift the sacredness of life. From the Bible, you look at the woman in the Gospel of John, the woman caught in adultery. Jesus saved her life by saying, woman, they did not condemn you, so too I do not condemn you. And that is what Christianity has been doing, developing man in his integral form. Christianity brought education, or reinforced education, in a schooling system where the mental aspect was developed. Physically, we have hospitals where we can take care of our health. We also have other aids that Christianity has brought, and so many people in Africa are being helped. Like if you go to Catholic hospitals or Catholic schools, just go and ask how many poor people there that the church is taking care of them, and taking care of them for nothing. They don't pay. And that is what Christianity has brought about. As for the development of Africa, I think it is not the place of Christianity to come and develop Africa, but the politicians are there to do that work of development. Christianity is only there to tell you that, please, as you are doing it, just be sure that you respect the sacredness of life. And if the government does well, Christianity will clap for you. If the masses don't do well, we say you have not done well. If the masses do well, we clap for them. If the government is misfiring, Christianity will say you are misfiring. So Christianity is in the middle. We do not take sides. We are in the middle, and we are very, very objective. So Christianity has done more good to Africa. It's a blessing for Africa. I still stand and I maintain that point.
It is not lady. Thank you so much, Reverend Father Edwin the Mumukon. It is not, ladies and gentlemen, that we draw the curtains for today's edition of the program 90 Minutes in Africa, only on my media prime, the African Eye. We want to thank our guests so much for taking time out of their busy schedules to be part of the show. We are going to come up with more interesting topics. Join us every Saturday, 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. and the rebroadcast comes up every Sunday at 10 a.m. God bless you. Bye-bye.